defined under the one umbrella that is known as a research ethics. So generally, there is a guideline. Every particular country, every particular state having their own particular guideline over the research ethics and moral ethics. It provides nothing but the one particular code of conduct. And research ethics is generally directly nothing but to use the some other particular work into the research, stolen the some work which is already published by the some other particular authors. So that whole particular part we will going to discuss. But before that, the following are the some of the particular highlighted terms are there. It is generally part of the ethical principle, like considers the honesty, objectivity, integrity into the research and the college and university, carefulness, openness should be there into the research or the scientific literature, the respect to the intellectual property and intellectual property right also, confidentiality, and the responsible publication, as well as the some other particular manuscript. As far as concerned with the ethical principle, there are a number of the ethical principles that should be taken into the account when the performing undergraduate or the master level thesis, even also the PhD thesis or the PhD dissertation work. So as a at the core of this ethical principle stress the need to do good, I mean known as a beneficence, and do no harms. That means there is no any particular non-beneficial or the harmful effect. So in practice, generally, as far as concerned with the ethical principle, means that a researcher, you need to obtain an informed consent from the potential research participant who have already published their work, minimize the risk of the harm to the participant, protect their anonymity and confidentiality, avoid the using the descriptive practice, and give the participant the right to withdraw from your research. So that means this entire that research ethics is generally based on to the nothing but the dishonesty, or based on to the the stolen the someone ideas. Okay, that broadly is known as a plagiarism. So plagiarism is nothing but the wrongful appropriation and stealing the stealing and publication of the others authors language, thoughts, idea, as well as the expression, and representing that particular thoughts and ideas as a own original work. So it is considered as a nothing but the plagiarism. So it is not a in itself a crime, but can constitute a copyright infringement. So still in the government of India, the plagiarism is generally the constitution, the plagiarism is not considered as any such big offense, and there is no particular punishment. But however, nowadays, the European countries, in America, and many developing country in Asia, the copyright infringement is generally now taken as a serious offense. So in academia and industry, it is serious ethical offense. Plagiarist literally meaning that the kidnapper to stolen the someone other works and represented a one's own particular original work. So the plagiarism in academic is considered as academic dishonesty, because the things is that it is generally correct the journalistic ethics. Once you take some words or a sentence, enter the paragraph which is already written by the other authors, and you put in your own particular dissertation work or the research paper or manuscript or the case study, definitely it is considered as a dishonesty. So it is a subject to sanction like penalties, suspension, and even the expulsion also. So recently the cases of the extreme plagiarism has been identified in the academia. We'll also discuss that particular part which is already carried out already reported in the last 4 to 5 years. Modern concept of the plagiarism as immoral and the originality as an ideal emerged in Europe in 18th century, particularly with the Romanic movement. So as far as concerned with the some basic fundamental part, the plagiarized meaning that to steal and the pass off as one's own, to use without the crediting to the source. Source, that means the original work which is generally published by the particular author. The commit the literary theft, and to present as a new and the original an idea or the product derived from the existing sources. So what is the legal aspect of the plagiarism? Although the plagiarism in some contexts it is considered as a theft or the stealing, the concept does not exist in the legal sense. Although the use of the someone else work in order to gain the academic credit or academic promotion may meet the some legal definition or considered as a legal definition of fraud. So the plagiarism specifically is not mentioned in any current statute, either criminal or the civil, but some cases may be treated as an unfair competition or a violence of the policy of the moral rights. Violation of the, I mean, each particular higher education institute in college or the university in India, they having their own particular rules, regulations, as well as the some terms and condition to use to prepare the thesis or the dissertation or the project. So according to that, if you are not supposed to prepare that particular your own document according to the rules and regulations, then it is considered as a violence. However, in the there is no any particular criminal or the civil offense is generally mentioned into the statute of the any particular institute. Okay, so if I change a few words, I am okay. I mean, majority of the newcomer students, plagiarism is two types, unintentional and intentional. So the newcomer student, when is come to the college or the university, they are not generally knowing that to use the some website informations or the information which is available into the online resources. You are not supposed to directly use this information in your assignment in your project. Okay, so intentionally or unintentionally, they're changing the some words. Like you can, I think you many particular students, the most particular common practice that use the synonyms into the copy and pasting the that particular words or the sometimes sentence or paragraph. But the thing is that by changing the one words or by changing the few words, it is not escape from the plagiarism, because the entire the heart of or the meaning of that particular paragraph remains as it is. If it is changed, so there is no need to ultimately use the such words. So changing the words or the voice is not a fair practice. Generally in scientific, or especially in medical science or the life science or natural sciences, the active voice is generally used even in engineering also, except the methodology portion. Technology and engineering faculty also use the active voice. So whenever it is possible, you are supposed to use the active voice, except in methodology, where actually the passive voice is generally allowed into the scientific literature. Now, student is generally doing the changing the word or the passive voice. Changing the voice active into the passive or passive into the active. But the problem which is generally occurs to change the word or the voice, you can see over here the first one, that is the performer is unknown, irrelevant or obvious, then you can ultimately use the passive voice. For example, up to 90% of the energy in the light bulb is wasted in the form of heat. You're not supposed to need who or what is generally responsible behind that. Okay, so that means if you ultimately change the voice from active to the passive, the meaning may ultimately changed. Okay, many other example is also there. Second, the performer is less important than the action. For example, the solution was heated at 90 degrees centigrade for the approximately 30 minutes and then allowed to cool. I think there is no need of performer who carried out the experiment. Okay, this sentence itself or the action which is carried out itself, it is considered as a self-explanatory. So the things is that in such particular you use the malpractice to change the word, to change the voice, then the entire the particular sentence and paragraph is suffer from the some meaningful information. So in methodology, the passive voice is generally allowed. Passive voice is generally allowed into the material methods or the experimental procedure, how actually you can carry out that particular part. The third one, the recipient is the main topic. Okay, for example, very famous sentence is that green plants produce the carbohydrates in the presence of light and the chlorophyll. Okay, generally, once you change that particular, once you change the words, the carbohydrates are produced by the green plant in the presence of light and chlorophyll. So this is more usable forms, more understandable forms. So generally, in the scientific literature, in such particular science, the carbohydrate produced by the green plant in the presence of light and chlorophyll is written. If you change that particular part, okay, now green plant is become actor, then the meaning is generally changed. So the things is that by changing the word or voice is not a way to escape from the plagiarism. One very famous course in our science, I think majority of you know that the deoxyribonucleic acid DNA double helix structure is discovered by Watson and Crick in 1953. Okay, and before that, many other scientists has already tried to decode that double helix structure of the DNA. So ideally, discovery is carried out by these two scientists, Watson and Crick. But however, they written the very famous sentence. You can see that we wish to suggest a structure for a salt of DNA. The structure has a novel features which are of considerable biological interest. So they are not already, use the invented, discovered, decoded. Why? Because already a structure of nucleic acid is already been proposed by the earlier by the other scientist. So the things is that what you have done, based on that you can ultimately put your particular words. Clear? So can words or the ideas really stolen or not? According to the United States law, the answer is yes. The expression of the original idea is considered the intellectual property and is protected by the copyright law, just like a original invention or the original discovery. So almost all the forms of expression fall under the copyright protection, as long as they are recorded in some particular meaningful way, like in book or in CD, in computer file or the folder. Clear? So which are the considered in the plagiarism or the copyright infringement? So turning in someone else's work in your own. You just use some a paragraph, some sentence from the other particular literature and put your own particular work. So this is under the copyright infringement or the plagiarism. Copying the words or the idea from someone else without giving the credit to the original author. Failing to put a quotation in quotation marks. Generally in technology and engineering faculty, the inverted comma is generally used. Okay, and you can put the famous quotation like some other particular scientist quotation or the scientist discovery or the some laws or the some norms. Giving the incorrect information about the source of quotation. I mean, you can't change the famous quotation. If you change it, that particular quotation meaning and everything will be lost. Changing the word, but copying the sentence structure of the source without giving the credit to the original authors. So which is also considered under the copyright infringement. Copying so many words or the idea from the source that it makes up the majority of your work, whether you give a credit or not. Okay, so that means you are not supposed in such a 6 particular practice, you are considered as under the plagiarism. So as we discussed earlier, there's a two types of the copyright infringement is there. One that is intentional one, that means you already know that if I copy some particular text, some particular sentence from the other particular resources and put as it is without giving the credit to the original authors, definitely it is considered as the intentional copyright infringement or the plagiarism. While unintentional, that means you are not knowing one. I mean, you are, or one can say that due to the carelessness, okay, or the poor documentation, or you are not aware whether the online online paper which is published by the some author may take that particular some paragraph of that particular paper in my own or not. So generally, as a newcomer student, unintentional plagiarism is very common one. But those which are ultimately master degree or PhD, the intentional plagiarism is very common into the dissertation thesis or the technical project writing. So the things is that after 2004, when the very rapid development in internets and the computer and information technology, intentional plagiarism becomes very high. Because for example, being a teacher, I just give some assignment to the student and within the 2 days the project or the assignment have to submit, so they're having a very less time. So in such particular condition, they use the web resources or the information which is available into the internet, and they're copying and pasting the everything without even the sometimes the cite the original reference number or the original reference which is published by the particular authors. So the intentional plagiarism is considered as a very the big offense or the very problematic into the contemporary era. See how the intentional or unintentional plagiarism is generally found, or how you can identify. For example, this is one of my paper published into the BMC journals. So the each and every detail along with the title and affiliation you have to give. For example, author contribution you have to give, author details. Even you also acknowledge the who and particular institute which is helpful in your project, in your paper. Competing interest, if it is there into the paper, you have to ultimately mention it. Availability of the data and material. Okay, this is generally demanded by the few journals, but very important, ethics, approval, and consent of publication. For example, I take the one particular material from the ISRO for the purpose to carry out the some particular product or mule some prototype. I have to ultimately acknowledge that ISRO scientist or the lab. Okay, also the material which is taken from the ISRO, okay, with the due consent of the particular professor or the scientist, I have to ultimately I have to ultimately quote that particular name of the scientist along with the approval letter. Okay, so that any particular material which is generally taken, not purchased, which is taken from the other particular institute, okay, with the proper manner, with the proper approval. So the research ethic. So the research ethical approval should be required, and majority of the good journal, okay, impact factor, highly impact factor journal, that demand for the competitive interest, ethical approval, and acknowledgement. So that you have to cite the proper each particular things into their manuscript, into their thesis. Okay, sometimes what will be happen, for example, this is again the one review, okay, based on to the carbon capture. The problem is that, as you know, that being a student, more than the 10-year-old reference we are not supposed to take into our scientific literature, whether it is a thesis or whether it is a review article, case study, or the paper. But sometimes what will be happen, you have to require some old article. For example, I have already taken the among them, the emission of the anthropogenic CO2 is progressively increasing over a time. So this is 25-year-old paper. Why? Because I have to require the old particular reference to conclude the one sentence. For example, consequently, the current atmosphere CO2 concentration has reached nearly the blah blah ppm. So that means you have to use the old reference also along with the some new reference also, so that particular mixing of the such particular data give you the some particular clue that the 1.5 fold of the CO2 is increased into the pre-industrial area into the atmosphere. So I mean, this is one example, but the things is that to use the such particular referencing, to use the such particular sentence from the other published, okay, you must mention the mention the name, I mean surname of that particular author. That means you are giving the credit to the particular person, which is original work which was published by that particular author. Okay, now we go through the direct plagiarism. Direct plagiarism, that means, say this is one example. Source is, I'm not reading the entire the sentence. In edges which have no record, these islands were the home of the millions of the happy birds. Okay, originally published by the Ajay Default in 1881. Now the one students, okay, use that particular source, and you can see that the blue color words is already changed, okay, from the that original sources. So this is considered as nothing but the word-to-word transcription of the section of the some other works is generally mentioned as a your work. So that is known as a direct plagiarism. You are copying entire the paragraph and put into your own particular script without giving the credit to the original authors. So that is known as a direct plagiarism. Self-plagiarism. Self-plagiarism, that means this is very common into the students. For example, I am in 2 year back, sorry, 2 year back, I have already completed the bachelor in engineering, okay, where actually I have already give the assignment of the certain particular, like considered as a nanoparticle or nanotechnology aspect, and same particular assignment I have submitted into the master degree, okay, with the same particular content. So that is nothing but the part of the self plagiarism. Okay, so generally it is occur when the students submit their own previous work, or the mixed part of the previous work without permission of the faculties or the professor. For example, it would be unacceptable to incorporate the part of the term paper you wrote into the high school into a paper assigned in a college course. Self-plagiarism is also applies to the submitting a same piece of the work for assignment in different classes without previous permission from professor. So this is known as a self-plagiarism. Third one, mosaic plagiarism. Mosaic plagiarism, that means, see, this is the entire, that is the one paragraph, okay, written by the Jackson. Clear? And the student B is used some particular page, some particular words from that, and write their own particular word. Okay, so that means you are not taking the entire the sentence. Okay, you are taking the some page. Okay, it is also known as a page writing. Page writing, that means it is mosaic pattern. Okay, mosaic plagiarism. So few words, okay, or the few sentence you put as it is, and rest of the particular words you edit yourself. Okay, so that is known as a mosaic plagiarism, or sometimes it is also known as a page writing. Definitely it is also considered as a punishable, or it is considered as academically dishonest, and it is punishable. Accidental plagiarism, generally it occurs when a person neglects to cite their reference or misquote their sources unintentionally or intentionally. So, and generally it is considered as a part of the accidental plagiarism. So the student must learn how to cite their source and to take the careful and accurate notes when doing the research. So lack of the intent does not absolve the student's responsibility for the plagiarism. Cases of the accidental plagiarism are taken as a seriously as any other plagiarism and are subject to the same range of the consequences as other types of the plagiarism. Okay, how to avoid the plagiarism? Avoiding the plagiarism. Common mistake that most people do not deliberately commit the plagiarism, usually result from the procrastination. That means sometimes in the very rapid mode we have to submit some paper, some draft project, okay, and during that period of time the footnotes, ads, bibliography, we just escape it. Okay, so that is generally nothing but the procrastination. So that ultimately result is nothing but the you are not giving the proper weightage to the original researcher or the author, because you are missing the footnote, you are missing the reference, or missing the citation. Okay, second, that is incomplete understanding of the original material. You are not able to understand the entire that particular para or the entire sentence or entire the manuscript. Okay, so there is a lack of the understanding, lack of the knowledge of the original work or original material, and that's why you are missing that particular credit. You are supposed to give the credit, but you are missing the credit to the other works. Then citation error is also there. Citation error is generally occurs in two types. If you are use this software, okay, number of the software are generally available. We'll discuss into the later part. So if the software, the missing error is there due to the one particular things, that is nothing but the due to the software. Okay, software already highlighted the list, but you are missed to put that particular citation in your own project. Okay, it is present into the software, but you are not carry forward into the your document. Second things is that sometimes you are collecting the all the particular citation. Citation, that means the reference is put inside the text. Okay, if that citation is generally already list out into the separate file, okay, but you are missing to the put into the certain particular your original work or original file, and there is a lack of the proper citation. Poor note taking. Poor note taking is also generally occurs due to the lack of the thoroughly reading, thoroughly mention of the each references. So the poor note taking is the one part where actually it is generally occurs due to the poor practice. So the common forms of the student plagiarism, you can say that the submitting someone's work as their own, taking the passage from their own previous work without adding the citation, rewriting the someone works without properly citing the sources, using the quotation but not cite the source, interweaving the various sources together in the work without the citing, citing the some but not all the passages that should be cited. I mean, number of the such particular common mistakes is generally occurs, and that's why the student reports are under the plagiarism. Even the sometimes inaccurate citing source is there, because the things is that once you take the some sentence from the particular paper, but that particular paper is already cited from the other particular paper. Okay, so once I use that particular sentence from that particular paper, but originally it is cited by the other paper, I have to find out the original paper which is published, for example, in 1999. Then I take that particular sentence and original citation. Okay, so that is the ultimately the inaccurate citing sources problems is generally occurs. Okay, how serious is the problem? Number of the survey has been carried out in the developing country, even in India also. Okay, online survey is already carried out. So thousands of the students is already take part from the number of the university, and that all are ultimately the data which is generally analyzed by the different authors. They say that or suggest that the internet is the main particular problems where actually this the information or the some text they are ultimately copy and paste as a on work by the students. So over half of the student admitted into the number of the different particular study, they have engaged in some level of the plagiarism on written assignment using the internet. So it creates the problem. I mean, it creates the serious problem. Okay, so we'll go on through the some famous particular example. That is one professor from the Chaudhry Charan Singh University, Meerut, Uttar Pradesh. Okay, so that CCSU, that is Chaudhry Charan Singh University panel finds professor plagiarized the thesis of the colleague. So that CCS University has found guilty of plagiarizing the another professor thesis. A three-member committee set up by the UP government and the Chancellor Ramnaik has found the allegations to be correct, and the recommended the administrative against in this regards. So that means, at the university level, okay, the search particular, I mean, this is very recent example, January 6, 2018. Okay, one professor from that university is generally use the work of the other particular professor. Okay, I mean, thesis is published by the other professor, so that create the particular problem. Another one, that is the no relief to the Ved Prakash Misra yet in the plagiarism cases. In Nagpur, Dr. Ved Prakash Misra, the civil court has on the Friday refused to grant any relief to his in an alleged case of plagiarism in the thesis submitted towards the diploma in Gandhian thoughts. But this is again the example of 2018, February 2018. The third one, that is the plagiarism charged against the Vice Chancellor of the English and Foreign Language University, Hyderabad. Actually, that Vice Chancellor is Suresh Kumar. Okay, some students write of an application to the Ramnath Kovind, the Honorable President of the India, and claim that his Vice Chancellor Suresh Kumar used the such particular text which is already published by the some other particular authors and used that into their own book. Okay, but eventually Suresh Kumar denied the charges and saying that he was not aware regarding this plagiarism. So you can see that if the Vice Chancellor and professor is generally, doing the such particular malpractice, and they are already ultimately a punishable one, and punishment is also there, was also there. So the thing is that it is very common practice now in the subcontinent like India. So being a student, we must ultimately know that we are not supposed to use the other works as a own works. Rahul Misra, I think most of you know that Rahul Misra is very famous ethnic traditional designer of India. He provided one legal notice to the some other companies saying that her dresses some motive, that means some part of the design, is stolen by the some other particular companies, and eventually Rahul Misra won that entire the case after the providing the legal notice to the company. You can see that this is the original creation where actually the birds and some trees is there. Okay, and the other companies use that particular page into their own particular dress. Okay, So this is again original work of Rahul, okay, and it is copying by the some company. So the things is that, I mean, it is not only the dress or the scientific literature, even in engineering design, okay, in some particular even engine, engine design or many other particular part where actually the same particular problems has been occurs. So what will happens to the educational system of our country if the torchbearers who have academic responsibility on their shoulders are indulge in the academic activities of the plagiarism? So the common excuse from the student is there, my professor expect too much and I do not having a time, so I have to ultimately take the help from the internet and copy that particular text which is available in the internet in my assignment. Okay. Second things is that this work was very boring, so I have to ultimately complete very fast and blah blah blah. So it is okay if I don't get catch, because majority of the times what will be happen, the faculty even that not thoroughly go through the plagiarism also. No doubt now the government is generally putting the number of the efforts into the higher education, including the college and university. Okay, and the number of the software is now available from the government side as well as the private companies, where actually you can check your document submitted by the student whether it is under the plagiarism or not, how much particular plagiarism in the terms of percentage is available into the document or not. Majority of the problem which is occurs is that every particular student is doing this. So this is very usual practice, and as a part of this, the newcomer students is there into the college. Okay, they are again doing the same particular things, copying, copying, pasting without giving the credit to the original authors. So UGC University Grant Commission, and I think even the AICT also, okay, draft the same particular regulation. So what I present the UGC draft, it is also similar to the AICT draft is available. In September 2017, the UGC draft the regulation to avoid the copyright infringement as well as the plagiarism. And the strict particular norms and regulation has been implemented by the UGC after 2018. So as far as concerned with the UGC or AICT, they divide the particular script or the thesis in two parts, okay, core area and non-core area of the script. So the core area, that means the abstract, the summary of your experiment, hypothesis, your observation, your result or conclusion, as well as the recommendation of your project considered as a core part of area. Okay, while rest of the particular references, bibliography, website which is you cited, preface, content table, acknowledgement, generic terms, some symbolic terms, okay, that all are ultimately part of the non-core area. So the plagiarism is generally applied to the core area, okay, core area. So where the clause 7 into the UGC regulation, similarity, the checks for the exclusion from the plagiarism. In this clause, it is mentioned that the similarity in all quoted works, all references, bibliography, table of content, preface and acknowledgement, small similarity of the minor in nature, and all generic terms, laws, standard symbols, or the equations should be excluded from the plagiarism. That means non-core area is excluded from the plagiarism or the copyright infringement. While in core area, they use the zero tolerance policy. Zero tolerance policy, that means if the any particular project report or the thesis which is zero, I mean which indicate the 0% plagiarism, then it is considered as a very excellent. Okay, and that zero tolerance policy is generally applied into the abstract, result that means observation, everything's output of the project, summary, hypothesis, observation, conclusion, and recommendation. So the core area of your research, of your project, shall be based on the original idea and shall be covered the zero tolerance policy on plagiarism. So the plagiarism disciplinary authority, which is constructed as a one committee under the norms of the HRDC and UGC, that is known as a PDA, Plagiarism Disciplinary Authority, PDA, of all the higher education institutes shall impose the maximum penalty if the plagiarism is established as a core. So the level of plagiarism into the non-core area, in earlier what we discussed, that is considered as nothing but the core area. So the level of the plagiarism in non-core area, for all the authors, I mean for all others non-core areas, plagiarism would be qualified into the following levels in ascending order from the severity to the, for the purpose of its definition. Level 1, that is this similarity, 10 to 14%, because up to the 10% it is not under the plagiarism, it is excluded from the plagiarism. Level 2, 40 to 60%, and level 3, that is the above the 60%. Now the penalty is also there for the student, as well as the penalty is also for the teachers. You can see the first one, if the level 1 plagiarism up to 10 to 40%, the student are not supposed to submit their project or the script, okay, and need to revise within the 6 months or the 1 semester. If it is above the 40% to 60%, then the such student shall not be given any marks credits for the plagiarized script, and shall be asked to submit a revised manuscript within the stipulated time period of year, but not exceeding the 18 months. I mean not more than the 1.5 month. Okay, and if it is more than 60% plagiarism into the level 3, the student shall not be given any marks or credit. Okay, and his or her registration for the particular course to be cancelled. Similarly, penalty for the faculty or the staff of the higher education institute like college and university, the level 1, the publication and shall not be allowed to publish any work for a minimum of 1 year by these teachers, by these teachers or the faculty. If it is 40 to 60% in level 2, for the 2 year, okay, the research cannot be published, even though he or she are not supposed to supervise the any UG, PG, MPhil or PhD student. And if at the level 3rd, okay, the increment of particular such teachers is generally is not given, and same things, that is up to 3 years, UG, PG, PhD and MPhil student are not supposed to supervise by these teachers. So these are no doubt in 2018 the such particular norms is already published, okay, but now still it is, I think it is not followed by the majority of the institute, and now in new education policy again it need to ultimately revise it. Okay, but it remains as it is. Okay, the penalty remains as it is. So apart from this particular problem, I mean penalty for the students, penalty for the teachers or the researcher of the institute. Okay, apart from that, the possible consequences is also again for the not only student teacher, but rejection of your own dissertation thesis creates the lots of problem for the teacher as well as the student. Suspension is also there. Notification to the organization as a malpractice or the as a violence of the such particular copyright, and the loss of the reputation among the community is also there. I mean these are the some of the particular consequences which is generally occurs. So what is the rationale for the academic integrity? Is your academic reputation as valuable to you or not? Because definitely being a part of the students or the teacher or the entire institute, the reputation is based on to the nothing but your work of the student and work of the teacher. So when you copy, you cheat yourself and you limit your own learning. So the consequences are not worth the risk. It is only right to give the credit to the authors whose idea you use. Citing the gives authority to the information you present, and citing makes it possible for your readers to locate your source. Education is not an us versus them game. It is about learning to learn, and cheating is the unethical behavior. So the $1,000,000 question: what to do for the copyright infringement and the plagiarism as a part of the research ethics? So do I have to cite everything? Okay, because what we are ultimately discuss up to this, the citation is required. You are not supposed to copy some other works as your own works. Then how I can ultimately avoid the plagiarism, or whether it is need to cite everything? Okay, no, it is not that. Sometimes what will be happen if there's some particular truth is there, some facts is there which is widely understandable and known one. Okay, no need to ultimately cite the original authors. For example, the Japanese attacked the Pearl Harbor on 19 sorry in December 7, 1941. So no need of the reference like U.S. government, blah 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 blah. Okay, because it is already known one, or common truth is there. Okay, so there no need to ultimately cite the such particular quotation or the such particular sentences. So if you see a fact in the 3 or more sources and you are fairly certain your readers and already known this information, it is likely to be a common knowledge. Okay, but when in this particular matter you are into the doubt, then you are supposed to cite this particular original reference which is published by the original authors. Okay, so the facts, common information, okay, that or common knowledge, they are ultimately free from the citation. So everything you are not need to ultimately cite in your manuscript or the paper. Okay, no need to document when you are discussing your own experience, your own observation, or your own processes or the reaction, because this is nothing but your own particular observation. This is the fruits of your own mind or the brain. Okay, so there is no need to ultimately write the sentence, include any particular citation. Okay, compiling the result of the original research from the science experiment or the science research. Okay, so you are compiling it, so no need to, sometimes if it is looking like that, I compile the different particular, for example, concentration of the CO2 in 2000, in before the 2000, before the 1900, before the 1800, then you can ultimately compile the data. Okay, if you put the 5 different particular reference, then it is okay, but if you are not ultimately put the reference at the end of the sentence, okay, you can ultimately consider as nothing but the compiling result. So there is no need of the use the such particular citation, because you are compiling the result with your own particular experience, with your own particular observation, and you are using the common knowledge. Okay, so common knowledge is also free from the citation. So of course you can borrow from the works of the other in your own work. Okay, so then I mean, apart from this particular discussion, okay, like facts, common knowledge, okay, your discussion, your experience and observation, you are use the some other particular works, okay, by the 3 different particular strategy. Either you can use the quotation, okay, in inverted comma or the single inverted comma, you are paraphrase it, okay, by the paraphrasing, or you can summarize the entire the particular paragraph which is written by the other authors into the few sentence. Okay, clear? So this is the 3 methods through which you use these 3 methods or the 3 strategy, okay, where you can escape from the citation of the other authors. Okay, or even in quotation, sometimes according to the blah and blah particular author, this is the famous sentence is proposed by I mean the such particular sentence you can use it, okay, where you can write the name of the author also. Clear? So we'll go through the one by one. The quotation are the exact words of an author copied directly from a source, or word for words. Quotation must be cited. Use the quotation when you want to add the power of the author's word to support your argument. Okay, you want to disagree with an author's argument, or you want to highlight the particular powerful words or the phrases or the passages which is generally already quoted by the authors. Okay, in such particular circumstances, you can ultimately use the quotation, or you are quoting the some other works. You are comparing and contrasting the specific point of view. Okay, some historical point of view, some particular development of the some particular point of view, like consider as a civil structure. Okay, structural point of view, you are ultimately comparing and the past with the futures or the some contemporary era. So in such particular condition, you can ultimately use the quotation. You want to note the important research that proceed your own way, where actually you can ultimately use the quotation. Second one, that is paraphrasing. Paraphrasing means rephrasing the words of an author, putting his thoughts in your own words. When you paraphrase, you rework the source idea or source words, phrases, or the sentence structure with your own particular knowledge. So like quotation paraphrased material must be followed with the in-text documentation and cite on your work cited page. For example, paraphrase are used when you plan to use the information on your notes cards, wish to avoid the paraphrasing. You want to avoid the overusing the quotation, because sometimes in the one particular paragraph you use the multiple quotation. It is not looking like a good one. It is also ultimately not a good, I mean, give the good understanding. You want to use your own voice to present the information. So paraphrasing is nothing but the rephrase the original particular published material with your own particular words. And third one, that is summarizing, involving putting the main idea or ideas of one's of the several authors in your own words, including only the main points, and you are summarize the entire the elaborate content into the some summary form. So summaries are significant shorter than the original and take a broad overview of the source material. Again, it is necessary to attribute summarize idea to their original. So some summarize is generally used when you want to establish the background or offer an overview of a particular topic. You want to describe the knowledge about a topic, or you want to determine the main idea of a single sources. In such particular condition, you can use the summarizing. Okay, now how you can, when you ultimately write your thesis, write your manuscript, how you can ultimately know that, or how you can ultimately use the summarizing or paraphrasing or quoting. Once you go through the some reference material, you just use the P or Q or S. Okay, so this is the common practice which is generally used by the student. Once you mark that it is the under the Q, you just mark that this paragraph is under the P, or this particular entire the page is under the S. So according to that, you can ultimately use the summarizing or the paraphrasing as well as the quoting. I mean, it is very logical way to use by the students. Okay, purpose of in-text citation as well as the referencing. Okay, what is the purpose of in-text citation and referencing? Referencing, that means nothing but the you use the list of the reference at the last chapter of the your project, your thesis or paper. Okay, inside taxation is in-text citation is generally carried out by two methods: numerical method and non-numerical methods. You can see that this is the one of the particular portion of my paper published in 2015. In this particular one paragraph, I have used the 9 different particular reference, which is numerical as a 5, 6, so on. Okay, while in other particular where actually I use the surname of the authors. I mean, it is non-numerical one, Chawla et al. 2011. Okay, so surname followed by the et al, that means the colleagues, and the year which is published by that original authors. Okay, so what is the purpose? This is nothing but to give the immediate source information without interrupting the flow of the paper or the project. Okay, otherwise, no doubt you can ultimately put all the reference at the last, but however, once you read the one paragraph, okay, thoroughly, the entire the rhythm of the paragraph, rhythm of the sentence is generally remains as it is. The flow of the paper is remains as it is. That's why the inside taxation is generally required. The academic world takes in-text documentation seriously. Inaccurate documentation is as serious as having no documentation at all, and brief information in text documentation should match the full source information in the work cited. So these are the, I mean, requirement of the in text citation as well as the referencing. How to prevent the plagiarism? I mean, this is tips for the professor. Okay, generally now it is already established in majority of the central government and state government institute. Set a climate where the academic integrity is valued. I mean, among the student and among the colleagues also. Design a thoughtful topic or the problems for the research. Set up a checkpoint throughout the process where the draft, outliner, organizer, preliminary work, cited, everything is generally under the pipeline. And according to that particular pipeline, the student passed that particular entire each particular checkpoint. And you also ultimately, being a professor, you should ultimately check that each particular checkpoint. Keep the portfolio for the student writing. Require an annotated bibliography. Make sure the student understand what plagiarism is and how you expect them to document. Make sure the student know how serious you personally take the plagiarism as a violation of your trust, college or the university. Make sure you are aware of how students plagiarized. Make sure students students know that you check for the plagiarism. Even though nowadays, once you put the particular project into the certain particular agency, okay, during the evaluation they also ultimately check the plagiarism, because the in the certain particular domain, for example, I am expert into the microbiology since last 13 years or 14 years. I'm engaged into microbiology. For example, sir is already engaged into the civil engineering. So being a domain knowledge, they are very expert that, and if you take the particular portion or particular entire the paragraph from others and put in your own particular project or project grant, definitely it is under the plagiarism. So even now this central agency as well as the state government agency is also checking the plagiarism into the grant proposal also. Okay, so tools for the plagiarism checking. I mean, being a student, for example, I am the student of engineering and I do the entire the particular project, and before the final submission, I have to whether to check whether my project is how much under the plagiarism it is generally. I mean, how much similarity is generally there, and whether it is under the plagiarism or not. Okay, for that actually, Urkund is available. That is the government, central government has already designed that particular website, that is urkund.com. Okay. Then privately, the Grammarly is available. I think majority of the engineering students that use the Grammarly. The one best advantage is that different 30 types of the document is screened inside that particular Grammarly. If you are academic, again the 7 to 9 different documents is generally screened through the plagiarism. Even business or technical, medical, creative, all are ultimately. And how actually it is work. For example, this is one of my draft. Green color is highlighted. The major problem of the wastewater are the high organic content, dark brown coloration, and AOX in toxic pollution, to name a few. You can see that this green color part is already now captured the web resource you are taken from the this particular website. Okay, and original reference, I mean original authors, where actually it is, you can see in the 3 format is available. You can cite either MLF format, APA format, or Chicago format. Clear? That means this particular sentence I have taken from this website, okay, and I have to mention the reference, okay, in any one particular format. Okay, how you can determine which particular format I have to use that particular reference? That is based on to the institutional policy. For example, generally uh, engineering and technology faculty, they use the Chicago or APA style as a format. Okay, you can ultimately use the any particular format depending upon the institutional policy. Okay, and the number of the software are available, even the free of Google Scholar. I think everyone is know that. Okay, you just put the entire the name of project. Okay, assessment of physico-chemical characteristics of the treatment of paper in industrial effluent. You just put into the Google Scholar, all the format is available: MLA, FPA, Chicago, Harvard, or Vancouver. You can use depending upon your choice. Then Jotero is also available. Jotero, that means you have to put the one particular format, you can extract the other particular format. It is free of standalone software. Student can use that Jotero format. It is very I mean handy software. Okay, you can also save the each particular reference. For example, the some students is doing the you know dissertation in fuel-less engine. Okay, and you have a number of the different particular paper available into the internet regarding the fuel-less engine. Okay, you can save that original reference or the title into the Jotero software, and depending on your you know use, you can extract that each particular paper separately also. Then important website for the plagiarism check, Preparator is available, PlagScan is available. Okay, online plagiarism checking is generally available. I mean, these all are ultimately, I mean, they are not free, but it's certain particular like 10 pages, okay, certain 5,000 words, they are ultimately give the free of checking, offer a free of checking. Duplichecker is, I think, free of cost. Okay, you can ultimately upload your document or the project or the paper. Okay, and then freely they check the duplication portion, and similarity index is generally given. Plagiarism is also available. They are free, both are free. Duplicatechecker.com and plagiarism.net. Okay, software finds the words, not a meaning. Okay, so that is create the problem, because plagiarism is in the terms of percentage, what we discussed, 10, 14, 40%, 60%, greater than 60%, that all are ultimately nothing but the similarity. Clear? So the software finds only the words, not a meaning. Clear? So sometimes the main problem is occurs. Sometimes we are not discussing that particular part because it's out of our box, but the spelling, I mean which language you are used, some spellings are also ultimately different. For example, center, 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 okay, written in American, British, Canadian, Australian language different. Favorite spelling is also different in all language. Clear? Even the grammar, UK British grammar, Australian grammar is also different one. My family is found, for example, they are used the is, okay, in America, but in British they use the my family are. Okay, so that means there is a different particular grammar is there, spelling is there, even punctuation is also different. Okay, but the things is that they may not be interfere into the plagiarism. Okay, that much interference is not generally found into the plagiarism. So we are not discussing details in the issue of language, I mean, issue of the spelling, grammar, punctuation of the different language. Generally, in before the 1995, in Indian literature we use the British language, but after the computer and internet, we are follow the American English. Okay, MHRD allows the university to use the Turnitin software to curb the PhD plagiarism. I think I'm not aware regarding that particular part, whether it is applied into the bachelor course in engineering or not. Okay, but in 2018, already the draft and everything is generally ready. Okay, and it is announced by the Union Minister of MHRD, Minister Javadekar, that the Turnitin is one software. I mean, it is one software developed by some companies. The government used that Turnitin software to curb the plagiarism, which is generally found into the PhD thesis. Okay, and this is GUI of Turnitin. No doubt, it is not a free of cost software. Okay, according to the HRD Minister Prakash Javadekar has announced the introduction of Turnitin software to curb the plagiarism widely prevalent into the academic research into the India. That define the what do you mean by plagiarism, how the PhD and such higher study thesis they are under the plagiarism. There's some policies already draft, but still it is not it is partially implemented, and MHRD announced that before the 2021, 2021, all the particular higher education institute must follow that, the rules and regulation, which is announced by the HRD minister with the Turnitin software. Okay, again the highlights of the UGC draft onto the legislation and on plagiarism for the student and teacher. This is repetition because we already have gone through the 10 to 40%, more than 40% for teacher, for student. Okay, and the main problems of the Turnitin or Orkund or any other particular software is there. Okay, that is the plagiarism index. I mean, how you can check whether in my particular project draft how much plagiarism is present. Basically, it is based on the similarity index. Similarity index, that means I prepared the one particular draft, put into the software. Software go through the checking the similarity which is available between your draft to the other particular online reports. Okay. Now the similarity index doesn't mean that it is a plagiarism index. Okay, I again repeat it. The software provides the amount of the similarity, okay, to the original work. Okay, but it doesn't mean that the similarity index is the plagiarism index. Okay, so there is some liquidity is still present into the plagiarism index because the software is generally identify some words, similar words, amount of the similarity, and based on that the similarity index is generally calculated by the software. But it is not exactly, similarity index is not exactly a plagiarism index. Clear? So some liquidity is there. Okay, so the good, bad, excellent, like words they are also used. Okay, and nowadays the in percentage it is also range of percentage which is less than 10, 10 to 20, then 20 to 40, then 40 to 60, like bifurcation will be available in before the 2021. Okay. Okay, plagiarism in India. I mean, I think maybe majority of the students know that it is not that much old example. According to Hindustan Time in 2016, Vice Chancellor Chandra Krishna Murthy of the Pondicherry University has to quote her job after a prolonged standoff with the HRD ministry, following the allegation that the C plagiarized the large part of the one of her books. Okay, even seven Stanford University professor wrote to then Prime Minister APJ Abdul Kalam about the Kumaon University Vice Chancellor B.S. Rajput on the issue. University of Hyderabad Vice Chancellor Parag Podil was accused of plagiarism his thesis from not one but three scientific papers. I mean, number of the such particular, messages published by the newspaper as well as also the HRD ministry. Okay, so this is regarding the how the plagiarism is there and what is the importance of the plagiarism and copyright infringement. The citation is nothing but the that you use the some other works, some others work, okay, put in your draft, in your paper, in your project, then you cite the original name or the surname of the original authors. Okay, so that is generally citation. Now the citation, how the citation is important. Say in last year, I have submitted the one paper in very renowned journal PLOS One. Okay, reviewer one comment me. You can see the introduction difficult to follow, the research background and the significance of this paper are not clear. These articles also missing some citation. You can see that. Okay, the things is that citation is so important. Even you publish the any particular paper review or any particular resources review, you must need the proper citation. Without the citation, such comments definitely will be there in your email box. Clear? So the citation is very important one. So when you include the citation, you are being a responsible researcher. So someone reviewer or the professor is generally, judge your tendency, your scientific behavior based on to the citation. You are showing the readers that you were able to find the valuable, high quality information from the other sources and place them in your project where appropriate, all while acknowledging the original authors and their work. So types of citation, I think we already described. Okay, modern language association. Okay, the Association of Psychological of America, then Chicago, Harvard, Vancouver. I think in engineering, triple E is also one format. Okay, the how to cite the reference in text citation. If the multiple authors is there, okay, you can use the surname of that author, then first name in abbreviation and last name in abbreviation. Okay, if it is more than the three authors, you can put the first name, first surname, first author, then second author surname, then third, then fourth, and so on. If it is only two authors, then you can ultimately, for example, Mehta and Dudagra. Okay, so Mehta and Dudagra, and you can ultimately follow that pattern. Okay, if it is considered as not any particular paper or the any review document, you use the newspaper article, then you have to use that particular name, then date, okay, then entire that particular column name, okay, or the news name, and then retrieved from the which particular site, and before that you have to put the name of the newspaper. Clear? Okay. Then how to ultimately convert the one particular form into the another particular forms. Okay, so citation machine is generally available where actually you can put the reference in APA style and you can extract in MLS style or the Chicago style or any other particular style. Okay, this is the actually the free of it is free of cost software. So citationmachine.net is online available. Okay. Another particular part which is must mention before concluding that session, that is electronic source information. Sometimes what will be happen, for example, your Gandhi College. For example, your Gandhi College is renamed, okay, in future, for example. Now the problem is that the whatever the project or whatever the particular or whichever the paper which is already published earlier, now the college name is renamed one, so at the URL you can't ultimately retrieve the information. For example, in my university, before the 2004, the university name is South Gujarat University. Now it is Veer Narma South Gujarat University. So URL has been changed. So sometimes to avoid the such particular part, the DOI, that is the direct object identifier, is generally given. So whether the institutional name, everything is changed, however the direct object identifier is remains as it is. Okay, generally it is dx.doi.org slash the number is given. So that number is unique for the all the particular papers, all the particular thesis which is online available or published by the some publisher. So this is very good collection which is generally identified by the DOI. So this is GUI of DOI, and in this particular part you can put your number, you can retrieve the original paper. Clear? Referencing, we are not because we have already discussed that different types of the referencing methods. Okay, project thesis writing, how you can ultimately project thesis, I mean whether it is engineering project or science project thesis writing, how you can write that so that the proper plagiarism problems can be avoided, copyright infringement is generally avoided. Generally, you know, these are the some of the common part of the thesis structure, project thesis structure. Good tips for the thesis writing, that is make sure you meet the PhD requirement for your street or the ME requirement, BE requirement, whatever the degree. Keep the perspective of that particular part. Write the introduction last. Use the apps and the tools. Address the unanswered question. Checking is very important. I mean, time by time, get feedback on the whole thesis, pre-viva presentation or submission. Sorry. Simultaneously be prepared for the viva, develop your own style. Remember that more is not always a better. Okay, get a buddy, a friend who is willing to support you. How to avoid some common problems in methodology writing. I mean, your methodology writing is considered as a very important one. Okay, your method should be properly cited. Whichever the tools, techniques, or the instrument you are used, you can put the company names in very minute information with the, for example, galvanometer you are used, or some particular instrument like chromatography you have used. Okay, you put the each and every particular specification which is operated for your sample analysis and blah blah, whatever the particular details are there. Okay, you can also ultimately, you know, use the material you are taken from whatever the particular institute, in which condition it is generated, you used, any pre-treatment is given, temperature, pH, I mean all the particular detail you should ultimately, description of the, I mean elaborate description of the entire experimental part is generally required in methodology. Okay. You can also use the statistical data analysis in, you know, science or engineer, ANOVA, chi-square, t-test are all ultimately significant probability. You can also use depending on your experiment, depending your project. Okay, then table and figures should not be ultimately free from the some common error. Okay, significant difference you can put either at the 0.05 level or 0.01 level. So it gives you the nothing but the image that it is very reproducible result will be there. Okay. Figure should be you know, good to explanatory. I mean, this is the only very small figure, no doubt it is not a figure of engineering background, but the thing is that the figure should be very self-explanatory. If there is a need to use the one short paragraph for the title to justify the figure, you can put it, but figure should be a self-explanatory. Okay, data presented in the table or the figure format must be described into the text. Writing the thesis, I think it is not a, I mean, sorry, writing the discussion. Okay, generally discussion is generally introduced in three parts: introductory paragraph, main body of the discussion, and concluding paragraph. Clear? So in introductory paragraph, where actually you introduce your output, okay, with the output which is already published by the other particular authors. Main body, that is where you are comparing the part, and the concluding, that means you stress out some limitation and advantage of your work. Clear? Online repository of the thesis is available, that is Sodh Ganga, a reservoir of the Indian thesis. So that particular thesis is generally I mean, it is free of available online. Okay, sodhganga.infinite.ac.in, and most of you are aware regarding that particular part. You can in advanced search, you can also ultimately get out the particular thesis subject wise or the domain wise. Problem encountered by the research in India. The first problem, that is the, I mean, most common problem, that lack of the scientific training in the methodology of the research. And the such particular, STTP give you the better platform to know about the plagiarism, copyright, online resources which is available for the students. Then there does not exist a code of conduct for the researcher into the institutes or the particular university or college. Many researchers in our country also face the difficulty of the adequate and timely secretarial assistance, as well as the poor library management, and functioning is not satisfactory at many places. So these are some common problems. But however, nowadays, the government is already initiated to modernize the library. Okay, and aware the such webinars and many other particular the workshop are already organized by the majority of the institutes. So the problems of the scientific, the information training is now becomes diminished. There is also difficulty of timely availability of the published data, but internet is now available, and majority of the colleges having their subscription of the some routine journals. There may at times take place the problems of the conceptualization, and also problem relating to the process of the data collection, as well as the related things. Yes, of course, the online sources for training is also available, like Swayam, then MOOC courses. Okay, number of the courses are available, like Coursera. It is one of the particular oldest platform which is used by the science and engineering students. Future Learns is also there. Generally, it is useful for the medical sciences. Okay, edX is also there. The Swayam is there. Number of the different particular courses which are available for the science and engineering and technology. Okay, now at the last part, we should ultimately go through the Creative Commons license. Actually, it is nothing but one of the several public copyright license that enable the free distribution of an otherwise copyright work. I think majority of the student who go through some particular paper, paper have written the CC by NC, CC by SA. Okay, so that CC is nothing but the Creative Commons license. Okay, so CC license is used when an author wants to give the other people the right to share, use, build upon a work that they have created. CC provide an author flexibility and protect the peoples who use or redistribute an author's work from concern of copyright infringement, as long as they abide by the condition that they are specified in the license by which the author distributes the work. So it is one kind of the license. Once you publish your report, once you publish your paper or the review in certain particular journal, for example, in Springer or the Nature or the elsewhere, or the Taylor and Francis like publisher, they give you the one license. They provide the one license. You have to abide that license, like CC, CC by NC. Okay, there is a difference. For example, attribution, that is by, share like, that is SA, non-commercial, that is NC, no derivative works, that is ND. Different types of the rights are there. Okay, the rights are ultimately, you have to choose that particular rights which is generally provided by the publisher. Okay, so CC license use, you can see that the free culture license is now very useful, and at international level by the Association of the Engineer, Association of the various particular associations of the science and medical science, they promote the CC0, CC by and CC by SA. So that all are ultimately freely content you can available. If it is CC by NC, the content cannot be available. You have to pay the rupees, dollar, and then that is available. CC by NC, SA, CC by NC, ND, CC by NC, Na and ND all are, I mean this all are ultimately green color part is there, it is free culture license. This is not a free one, and this is very stringent one. You have to pay, and after that you can get that literature. According to the 2010 data, free culture license, it is in 40% in 2010, but it is increased in 2014 by 56%. And nowadays, number of the publishers are there. They increase the free culture license. That means you are not supposed to pay anything to retrieve the full project report or full paper. Clear? According to I think 2018, I read that nearly 59% is already now in pre-culture license, and might be chances at the ending of the 2020 it may be nearly 70%. Okay, so as far as concerned with the stringent to the open culture, green color all are ultimately share, remix, or commercial use can be possible whether the license is CC by CC, CC by CC0, CC by, or CC by SA. Okay, where Creative Commons license spectrum, that is green color, that is where once you can share it, you can mix or remix it, or you can use it for the commercial purpose. Okay, while CC by NC or CC by NCSA, you can remix and share also. Commercially, you can't do it. Okay, and CC by ND or CC by NC by ND, you can only share it. Okay, and if it is copyright, okay, then you are not supposed to share that literature, you are not supposed to remix, you are not supposed to commercialize it. Okay. Okay, this is regarding the copyright information, license of copyrights, plagiarism, the tools and techniques, which all are ultimately available into the public domain. If any question regarding that particular part, I am willingly reply that question.
Praveen sir, good evening.
Good evening.
Sir, I'm going a little out of focus, but I will like to ask you, say I have got a thesis from Shodh Ganga. Now, normally in Google Scholar, we can easily cite it through, like clicking on that site or that apostrophe. So you get the citation immediately. But in Shodh Ganga, how do I get the citation?
Pardon? From where you can?
Shodh Ganga. From Shodh Ganga, say I have, yeah.
Actually, the Shodh Ganga is